Even though this next Buffalo Bills Hall of Famer is no longer with us, he will always be remembered. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to another Hall of Fame series edition of Billievers Talk, where we take a look back at all of the Buffalo Bills Hall of Famers. Before we do that, however, guys, I want to remind everyone my name is Joe, and if you are new to this channel, if this is the first video that you are watching, thank you for joining me on Billievers Talk. And if you're new, if this is the first or one of a few videos that you've already seen, make sure you hit that subscribe button, guys. The NFL season, if it happens, is just around the corner. You don't want to miss any of the action, guys. We give you live play-by-play of every single Buffalo Bills game between here on Billievers Talk and my buddies over at #Sports. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. We go live every Thursday night. You want to make sure you're here for that and join the conversation as the Buffalo Bills get ready to play some football again, as the NFL is ready to come back. I want you guys to join the conversation with me, whether it be every Thursday, whether it be during my live breaking news streams, or whether it be during those live play-by-play games that we do every single Sunday during a Buffalo Bills season. But in this episode, we're going to make sure that we talk about why we're watching Buffalo Bills football, the real reason why we get to watch Buffalo Bills football, why there is an NFL franchise in the city of Buffalo. Guys, this guy is the most important guy on this list because, again, without him, there wouldn't be football in Buffalo right now, right? Western New York wouldn't have a football team. The only New York football teams we would have are the two that have an identity crisis that play in New Jersey. So it's good to see a football team, say they're from New York, play in New York, the true New Yorkers. I'm sure Jets fans and Giants fans will love me saying that. But guys, we're talking about Ralph Wilson Jr. Now, this is not going to be like the other videos because other than Marv Levy, this is the only other guy so far that we've done that has not been a player for the Buffalo Bills. And Marv Levy was a coach. We could talk about some of the Super Bowl appearances, things like that. And even though Ralph Wilson was the owner during the Super Bowl appearances, he really didn't have much to do about it. That we'll get more into that when we talk about another Hall of Famer, and that is Bill Polian, who was the GM of those football teams. But Ralph Wilson Jr., you cannot have a conversation about the history of the Buffalo Bills without having him in it, and that's one of the reasons why he's in the Hall of Fame. Ralph Wilson Jr. created the Buffalo Bills in 1959. He was given a chance to form an NFL team, and he was given a choice of a few different cities to choose from to where he would want to start this NFL franchise for the at that time the AFL, right? And he chose the city of Buffalo, right? He chose the city of Buffalo. He showed loyalty to the city. And listen, I don't care who you are, there's one thing to say about the city of Buffalo is if you show loyalty to the city of Buffalo, they will show it back. In fact, in his enshrinement speech, he was inducted by Chris Berman, and that's exactly what Chris Berman said. He says if you show a little bit of loyalty to the Buffalo Bills, to the city of Buffalo, they'll show it back to you in tenfold. And that's what we do with Ralph Wilson Jr. Now, there's going to be arguments that he didn't spend a lot of money on his teams, right? They was cheap, but he still brought this team to Buffalo. He still was the owner of this team when they went to 4 straight AFC Championship games, won 4 straight AFC Championship games. He was also the owner of this team in the early 60s. When you talk about those AFL Championship football teams, the teams that guys like Billy Shaw was on, who we did a video on not too long ago. So you really have to look at Ralph Wilson Jr. if you are a Buffalo Bills fan and tip your cap. Tip your cap to this guy because, again, he could have chose plenty of different cities to put a football team in the AFL, and he chose the city of Buffalo. So you have to give him credit for that. Again, he founded the Buffalo Bills in 1959, born October 17th, 1918 in Columbus, Ohio. Unfortunately, as I said in the intro, Ralph Wilson is the only person who is part of this series who was part of the Buffalo Bills, who is currently in the Hall of Fame, to not be living today. Unfortunately, he passed away March 25th, 2014. We all know what happened then. Lots of scared Buffalo Bills fans worried about that team moving, but luckily for us, the Pagulas bought the team out and we were able to keep our team in Buffalo. But we could talk a little bit about Ralph Wilson, because not only was Ralph Wilson the founder or owner of the Buffalo Bills, he was also a very integral part of creating what is now known as the NFL. He was one of the AFL owners who were part of the meetings with the then NFL to talk about merging these two leagues, talking about the AFL and the NFL merging into one. He was an integral part of that. So not only do we have him to thank for our Buffalo Bills, we have him to thank, at least partially him to thank, for the NFL as we see it today. So again, a lot to think about when you talk about a guy like Ralph Wilson. He was definitely a huge part of this game as we know it. In fact, the NFL Hall of Fame has one of the buildings is named after Ralph Wilson, or at least it was at one time. It was the last time I went there, but it's been a few years, so maybe they got a name for it. But at one time it was named after Ralph Wilson, because that's the type of man he was. That's the type of impact they had on the game. Another thing that was mentioned in his enshrinement ceremony, another thing that he proved to the city of Buffalo after his passing, is how charitable he was. He was very charitable with his wealth, and we saw that by what his estate did for the city of Buffalo after his passing, giving up that money to the city of Buffalo, a very generous thing that he did there. So plenty of things that went on in Ralph Wilson's life that you have to tip your cap to and say, thank you for the Buffalo Bills. Thank you for your impact on the NFL and what you made it or helped make it today. And thank you for just loving the city of Buffalo. And I think for those reasons alone, whether you liked his ownership capabilities or his ownership style, if you will, you just have to look at a guy like Ralph Wilson and tip your cap if you're from the city of Buffalo, if you love the Buffalo Bills, and say thank you for all that you did to give us a team to cheer for every single Sunday. Without him, there is no Bills Mafia, right? I mean, there's none of that now. You could argue that maybe there would be an ownership team that would come down the line, but you never know what would have happened without Ralph Wilson. So again, not much to say as far as on the football field, because again, he wasn't on the football field. This guy was an integral part of the game, more a part of the game than anyone else we're going to talk about on this list, and he was a part of the game for a longer period of time. You talk about a guy who owned the Buffalo Bills, who formed the Buffalo Bills 1959-1960, the first season for the Buffalo Bills, and then he was part owner of the team until he passed in 2004. In 2014. So obviously a big part of the NFL for a long period of time, so 50 years being part of the NFL, obviously part of some big time decisions when it came to ownership meetings and things of those nature, a big part of bringing the AFL into the NFL, so you do have to thank him for that as well. But again, not too much more to say about Ralph Wilson. Let me know in the comment section what you think of Ralph Wilson. Do you have bitter feelings towards Ralph Wilson because of the times he would refuse to spend money on this team, because of the way him and Marv Levy kind of parted ways? There was a lot of tension or potential tension. They were talking about tension at Marv Levy's retirement ceremony. But again, or do you have good feelings when you think about Ralph Wilson, because he did bring a team to Buffalo, one of two major sports franchises in the city of Buffalo, and again, showed a lot of loyalty, and for that, we show our loyalty back. And again, unfortunately, he's no longer with us, but his footprint on the NFL and on the football community and on the city of Buffalo will be felt for a long time to come. So again, leave a comment. If you haven't already liked this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video if you haven't already shared this video, guys. Again, we're doing this Hall of Fame series. I know this one came out a little bit late, but I'm happy to bring it to you. We've done every single Hall of Famer leading up to Ralph Wilson, who was inducted in 2009 with Buffalo Bills Hall of Famer Bruce Smith. And we will continue on. We have Bill Polian still to come. We have Terrell Owens, spent a year or two with the Buffalo Bills. Not a lot of his Hall of Fame career, but he is a Hall of Famer, and he spent time in Buffalo. Has nothing but kind words to say about Buffalo Bills. So we'll do him that and do him a solid and give him his time as well. But that's what we're going to talk about with Ralph Wilson. Again, leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, all that good stuff. Thank you for joining me on this edition of Believers Talk. I look forward to talking to you soon. Until I do, go Bills.